hope you were able to tune into our last episode where I kind of discussed what this is. So, in the meantime, I would love to discuss travel with you. And the reason that I chose travel to be the first thing that I hone in on is because this space is going to be heavily travel focused, because I think that travel reflects a willingness to indulge with and learn from others. I think travel is an effort to appreciate other cultures. It's an effort to learn about other people. It's an effort to put down our worldview and just be and experience like another person. I think travel in a lot of ways can create empathy. It can create a sense of concern for the other. It really forces us to put ourselves in the shoes of someone different than us. Now, I'm not saying that you staying in your 4-star hotel is really living like a local, but it's maybe the best we can do. I also want to caveat this with, I'm not saying that like travel is willy-nilly, easy peasy. I think it's actually really tricky. I think there are places in like the EU where it's not that tricky, and it's maybe something that we could learn from. But it's not something that you can just do, because for most of us, taking off time from work is tiring. We don't really want to have to do that. But there are good things about not having much money. For example, for me, taking 3 days off from work where I make $3 an hour, yes, $3 an hour, as a server, isn't really going to break the bank, because $3 an hour. Additionally, like, I'm not a neurosurgeon. No lives are on the line if I take time off. So there are benefits to kind of being where we're at as a young generation. So there are also ways of traveling that are actually worth considering. Like, there are budget airlines where you maybe won't have a water bottle and you maybe won't have any circulation to your legs, but you can get there. You know, Mexico is a 3-hour flight from North Carolina, where I am. So there are totally, in points and miles, there are totally ways of doing it. And I would love to help you learn from my husband, because I am not actually that knowledgeable about travel, but I am knowledgeable about the benefits of it. I'm not knowledgeable about the logistics of it, so don't confuse that. Travel is the ability to, like I said, put yourselves in the shoes of someone else. You can learn how people eat. You can learn what their commute looks like. You can learn what their delicacies are. You can learn what they think about America, what they think about the world, what they think about religion. One of my favorite things to do while I'm traveling is try to connect with God, because, and that sounds really cringy, but what I'm trying to say is, like, when I am at my local parish, or if I'm at home, I can experience God in a very familiar way and in a profound way, to be honest with you. But maybe if I'm driving, or maybe if I'm at work, suddenly God seems a lot more distant, and that's spiritual weakness on my part. Like, for example, even if I go to an unfamiliar church, God seems to be different there when he's not. It's my perception of him that's different. And I know that there will be a day where my local church will not be accessible to me, or my book that I use for prayer will not be accessible to me. I'm going to have to think outside this norm that I have created for myself in order to connect with God. And a great way of, exercising that spiritual strength is by traveling, by encountering the same God in a different way, in a different country, in a different atmosphere. What I mean, and I don't mean to sound doomsday, but there will be a day where the way that you connect with God now is going to be forcibly changed. Maybe you connect with God because you are in a familiar stage of life. There will be a day where familiarity is thrown out the window, We all experience tragedy, and we all experience joy. Like, I know for me on Christmas Day, I don't feel close to God at all because I'm just like presents, family, friends, food, and like I totally forget to connect with God. So being able to connect in the same way with the same God, feeling his same presence, no matter where you physically are, no matter how you feel physically, no matter if you're at a high or at a low in life, that is spiritual strength. I also think that travel is a great way of learning what we're lacking as a society, maybe what you're lacking as an individual, and what others might be lacking, and being grateful for the things you do have. So I can remember in France, walking into a coffee shop and getting a no from like the barista, just like no. And I don't know if it was like I was American, if it was like I was annoying, which, yeah, to both of those things. It was funny. It was just like, no. And of course, other people were walking in and being served with no problem. But like, I'm grateful that I don't live in a country where that's like okay. I mean, obviously it happens in America, but it's not like, yeah, no, I don't feel like serving you. Like, get out of my restaurant. And there was another example where we were in Mexico, and this was like 2023, like the summer of 2023. So like well after COVID and the whole situation. We were forced to buy from a local business like a $30 mask, or else the guy at security at the airport wouldn't let us through security. So like these kinds of like kind of weird situations, I'm grateful I don't have to experience every day in America. There are also ways that I think we could definitely learn from others as we travel. We can learn about how people in other countries or other cultures take a day off every week. They do not go to the grocery store. They do not go at work. They do not do this, that, and the other on a certain day. Like, for example, being in Turkey, there was calls on loudspeakers to pray 5 times a day. Boy, wouldn't that be great if we all had a reminder from just in the streets to stop and pray? And I used that time to pray. There are so many things that I think we can learn from by traveling. And to kind of relate this back to my whole thing about neutrality is travel is the ultimate form of empathy, I think. Willing to put yourself in an uncomfortable and unfamiliar circumstance in order to understand and learn about another person, culture, or society is exhibiting empathy. Now, I'm not saying if you don't travel, you're not empathetic, but what I'm saying is if you travel for the right reasons, which is to learn about others, you are practicing empathy. And I think our fear of the other, our fear of different cultures and societies is really crippling us as a culture, as Americans, and as a generation. And by sharing with you about my different travel, I'm hoping to create an ideology that is less self-obsessed and more interested in the other. Because politically, philosophically, religiously, we could care so much less about how other people see the world and how they experience the world. And so ultimately, I think if we could resist the temptation to put other people in boxes, and maybe that's even associated with negativity, dare I say negativity in 2024, I think that we can really, really be open-minded. I think we can stretch our imagination, stretch our worldview, and show appreciation and gratitude for other people. So hopefully that's making sense. Hopefully I've sparked something interesting in you. And until next time, guys, stay neutral.